Welcome in, everyone. RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here, John here on a recording live right now on a Copa America Group C finale day with the United States men's national team taking off against Uruguay. We'll see what happens. It'll either be a triumphant victory or not, I guess, is the two outcomes there.
That's right.
Those are the two outcomes. John, how you doing, my friend? How was your weekend? Hope it was good.
Pretty good. Went swimming on Saturday. That was the highlight. It was hot, and then today it was nice and cool. So today was a nice respite. I don't know if you got outside at all. I was walking. I was I was actually kind of cold in the shade. I was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah,
I'm dying. I think I'm dying. What about you? What'd you do?
I went to the beach. I
Nice.
spent a weekend out at Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. So yeah, it was a good trip. Nice little reprieve for a little bit, just a few days. So it was a nice trip. But yeah, we had DC soccer, and DC soccer was not disappointing. So we already said we talked too much. So let's just jump right into it. Unless you have any other quips you wanna spin today.
Nope, no quips. Make sure you go check out the Hal Hirschfeld interview, which
Yes.
was a Patreon exclusive on audio, and is on a YouTube page if you want to check it out. I thought it was pretty good. Check it out.
Cool. Yeah, John does a great job. Great job lined up those interviews and getting those players. So let's just jump into it. Let's talk DC United. DC United 2-2 draw against the New York Red Bulls. I had a weird way of watching this, so I watched I went out to dinner, so I was unable to watch the first half. Came back from dinner, watched the second half, and then watched the first half the next day. So kind of a weird,
Yeah.
weird way to watch the game. But I feel like the positive action happened in the first. Well, mostly positive action happened in the first half. Uh, let's start with the
I think
storyline.
we should start
Go
out
ahead.
with our expectations of
Oh
what we
yeah,
thought this game would be ahead of time.
floor bottom.
I think I said 4-0 loss. I think was my number. I think that might have been my number. You might have said
Yes.
3-1 loss, but it was gonna be, with the red cards, with the opposition, with being on the road, with the vibes. There was no way we thought it could be anything other than very bad.
Yeah, and for all you told me the team would be down to 10 men, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, then it definitely ended poorly. There's no way this team is shorthanded as they were. Would end up otherwise. Let's talk about the opening of the game, because I thought maybe Red Bulls came in a little bit slow, and DC came out really quick, and they looked actually probably like the better side for, I'd say, about the first 16 minutes, right? Certainly leading up to the goal, and then even after that. I will say what's been interesting, and I'll be more curious to watch it. Against Cincy coming up on Wednesday, because there'll be no Benteke again. I do think there's an argument to be made that when the team doesn't have Benteke as kind of that outlet, as kind of that big force, and I'm not saying at all that he should be benched, let me be clear, but I do think it forces the team to come up with other ways to score and to be a little different and to be a little creative. And I think it leads to that first goal. Jared Stroud, rather than maybe he gets to the top of the box and he knows Benteke's there, he thinks maybe the better option is to, play a ball over the top to try to find Benteke. Instead, Benteke's not there. You've got Teku DiPietro out there. You've got Jacob Murrell, who has, some hops. But instead they play a really nice pass sequence, want some 1-2 passing that sort of breaks down the New York Red Bulls back line, and then a really nice nifty little back heel sort of 1-2 between Stroud and Murrell, and it finds Jacob Murrell in the edge of the box, and he slots home a really, really nice finish. So just interesting,
Stroud.
Sorry. Who did I say? Murrell? I said Murrell. Yeah, Stroud with the finish. It was a 1-2 between Stroud and Murrell. Murrell with the back heel right into Stroud's path, and just a really, really nicely played goal. Probably one of their better team goals this year that didn't sort of involve, a ball over the top finding Benteke. So I thought that was interesting. And I would say it's about the first 16, 17 minutes of the game. They were sort of moving the ball well, passing it. I thought particularly Dahomey showed some ability to find the open man, to sort of be an outlet. And Martin Rodriguez as well continues to impress.
Yep.
And we'll get into we got a question about his performance, about what we make of it, so maybe I'll hold a little bit for that. But overall, like, I've sort of given my thoughts. Any sort of anything you
I
want to add, or anything different that you
just to
want
the
to say?
point that it was a surprising start to the game where Red Bulls couldn't account for maybe DC United playing in a different way than they would have expected or that they
Mhm.
could have seen on game tape. It's tough to say that the team is certainly not better without Benteke, but it does require some more problem solving that they're not forced to do otherwise. It would, if you look at this lineup and you just swap Mural for Benteke, like that creativeness is still feasible, right? It's
Mhm.
just about the fact that he's so good in the air that it's like a cookie on the countertop. It's like, it's there. You're gonna probably want to go for it, even if you don't really need a cookie.
Yeah,
That's probably why they are so one note with him on the field.
yeah, and I almost wanna you almost want to be, as Troy was saying, be like, look, like, let's try this with Benteke out there. Let's, maybe that is a last resort option type of thing across. If you're in space, you see where he might have a chance, then yeah, of course, play that crossover and into the air, because he probably has an opportunity. But rather than just kind of forcing it down, into the box or into his path, let's try to connect some passes a little bit. Let's make, some runs. Let's look for some other options that might then cause teams to then have to shift, and then that opens up better opportunities for Benteke, where maybe he's not getting 5 or 6 lofted balls to him in the box, but he's getting 3 or 4, but 2 of them are much more open than the one he might get off of the
You
5.
just got to give the wingbacks and Jared Stroud like a doggy shock collar when they play with him. Just like if they think about a cross, like, zzz, and they don't anymore. Because I mean, Stroud, to your point, like Stroud's function on this team with Benteke is to like never shoot.
Yeah.
Like if he's in the box, he's done something wrong. He needs to be his cleats need to be on the end line, on the sideline rather.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, I think, I want to see this team. I felt like in that first half against Houston, the introduction of Martin Rodriguez, and let's talk about him.
Let's talk about him.
The Enclave says, any new opinions on Martin Rodriguez's performance of late? I think he looks. I think what he brings. I will say, I think, some of the talk about, wow, he looks so good. Maybe we should keep him. Maybe we should have him be on the team next year. I think that does come from, he has brought a sort of different style. His calmness on the ball, his ability on the dribble, his ability to sort of retain possession, and also to be kind of an outlet. He is sort of going into spots and saying, being that sort of, really, we talk about Benteke being that outlet over the top, where if you're, when in doubt, just hit it over the top and Benteke will probably win it. Instead, Martin Rodriguez is kind of being like, hey, I'll strip back into the defensive third. I'll be maybe an option. I'll find the space to kind of like be that pass, and then I can look and find some other things. I don't think he's like brought anything explosive. I think it's been that type of simple, I can hold the ball, I can possess the ball, I can be tight on my dribble. Like, when he touches the ball on his feet, it's very clear that it is something that not a lot of players on DC United really have right now. And I don't know quite like how to, like, I guess, I don't know if there's a way to quantify it, but it just looks like when he is on the ball, he is much more in control and can sort of put the ball into spots, and maybe beat some guys on the dribble that maybe a lot of other players don't have. So
I think that's accurate. I think it's not a player that's worth his salary yet, but he is providing some useful skill sets that the team needs at the moment. Just as far as handling pressure, not turning the ball over. I want to talk about Ted too in the second half. You made a comment sort of about him being able to do some things, but I feel like he has regressed exactly in the things that Martin Rodriguez is good at, like sort of uh, taking players on, not losing the ball, uh, being thoughtful about which way you're going to take the ball once you receive it, just sort of like those highly technical things. And I think that's he's not. I don't really see him being a big goal scorer. I don't see him being a big assist guy. But I think for the rest of this year, unless this team gets a major makeover in the summer, which we don't think it will, uh, he's certainly earned the right to be involved I don't know about every game, but certainly more than he had been, where he was getting a couple minutes every 5 games. So there's that. He's improved dramatically in that way.
You talk about Ted. Ted's improved.
No. Martin
Oh,
Rodriguez. I think
oh,
that Ted has.
Martin.
I think that Ted has taken a big step back. I think he's lacking in confidence. I think when he dribbles the ball into the final third, I think that players are picking out on his tendencies and are making him make mistakes. It's just not. It's not falling for him right now. I think it's a lot of it is down to not having a long, uninterrupted, non-injured time period, and I think the other part is just some drop off, just some natural skill drop off for a young player.
I think it's. I think it's maybe a little bit of that. I also will say I think he's suffered from the lack of sort of consistent
What's his
play.
position? Also,
Yeah. Also, and I think that comes from the state of the team right now. So, I'm kind of. I still see some good things from him. He had a couple plays where I thought he did a really good job, like beating like the first or the second guy off the dribble. And then I think to your point, I think he tries to do too much. And then it's like, okay, now I got to beat the third guy. And it's like, no, why don't you stop, hold it up, look around, assess a little bit, try to keep it in control, look for an outlet, look for somebody else. And, then you can then set yourself up to where you can then, go and try to find some more space on the dribble. I don't know if regression. I mean, it's regression. I think in the stats. I think from what we saw, I think it's been a consequence of this. I think it's been the lack of consistent lineup, the lack of really a consistent player around him, and maybe that's something where having Martin Rodriguez around you consistently changes that a little bit. Maybe having Benteke around you consistently changes that a little bit.
I think he suffers in the expectations we had in him based for last year, right? He was
Mhm.
22 under 22. He was rising young star. He was the offensive focal point that would replace Taxi Funtas, and then that's just not been the case. So I think
Yeah.
that's part of probably the evaluation is sort of what he was expected to be. And I want to call out a point you made that's well well made is the difference between a young player. It seems like, at least with DC United, the difference between a young player and an experienced player is an experienced player get thrown in a bunch of different situations, bunch of different positions, a bunch of different scenarios, and do okay and manage. And it seems like our young players do much better when they have one position they're going to be stuck in, and that's where they're going to be. Jackson Hopkins is a good example. Wasn't a six, became kind of a six, hasn't gone anywhere else on the field, and I think it's allowed him to get much better at that than it would be if he's like, all right, you're still a winger sometimes. We're going to put you at right back occasionally. A player like Pedro Santos, Christian Dahome, that's what age gets you. It's you're comfortable at
Mhm.
every place in the field. So I think that's just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I think I want to see, next season, I want to see this team have more players. I want to see it have a more structured setup to where I think Ted Pietro can still be successful.
Sure. Yep.
And I think he can still develop. I will say, I think my storylines in this year is, what's Ted's ceiling? We kind of know his
We were
floor.
talking about an international sale, I think, at last
Yeah,
season. We were
yeah,
concerned,
yeah.
and I don't think not this year. That's certainly not a
Yeah,
concern right now.
that's definitely that ship has sailed. And I mean, I don't want to say never, but I mean, I don't think he's had a season that is turning many heads. I mean, maybe you see someone come in for a little bit. He is on, I think so. They extended his option, so they got one more year left on that option. They signed him again. I don't think he falls. I think he goes off that homegrown contract. I mean, do you look to try to keep him and offer him like one of those U22
Sure.
initiative spots to try to hold on to him?
Sure.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I want to see. I'm excited for the summer. Even if this team just gets a few more pieces in here, if they can just be consistent. I think another storyline here is McVay's back, and I was maybe ahead of what I thought he was going to be. So that is very good to have him back.
Troy is very honest in press conferences. I found that to be the case. If he says a player will be available for a little bit or manage minutes, that is correct.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think I still kind of want to see Ted. I still want to kind of see Ted do more. I think this has been the year where we've given the young players minutes. Unfortunately, Jackson Hopkins, Christian Fletcher picked up injuries. We'll see. They've been out maybe a little longer than I expected.
He said they should be they're close to returning. I think they're in full training.
Okay, that's good. So
Which
maybe
is
we'll see
what we
them.
need. We need bodies.
We
That's
need bodies.
fantastic.
Yes.
Let's talk about. I like your. I always prefer talking to referee Ted about
Oh
certain
yeah.
calls. Christian Dahome's second yellow. What were your thoughts on that as you saw it?
So my thoughts. I will contend, and this is where maybe I differ a little bit. I look at a referee's decision, and first of all, first yellow for Dahome, absolutely warranted. Late challenge, slide tackle, absolutely
Yep.
warranted. Second foul is clumsy. He's going into the back of him. He's sure he can say shoulder to shoulder, but if you use your shoulder to charge somebody in the back, you're gaining an unfair advantage there.
Shades of Christian Benteke's first yellow.
Yeah, you're just kind of you're not shoulder. Just because you use the shoulder, you cannot use the shoulder just to blitz somebody into the back. You have to be playing it side by side, playing it fairly. Using it to fight the other player. I think what the referee was doing, and everybody gets caught up in, everybody thinks a yellow, and I see this when I referee, and I see this, when everybody thinks that a foul, that like it's about the harshness of the foul that deserves the yellow, and that's not always the case. And in this case, you had a Red Bull player moving. You had several Red Bull players that were, essentially he had options to pass to. Red Bulls were developing an attack. So the fact that the foul was clumsy, it wasn't a really good attempt to play the ball. He's already on a yellow. You're opening yourself up to where you can get that second yellow. And it's stopping honestly a potentially a promising attack. That player for the Red Bulls is moving quickly. He's running into space. He has space to close down. He has plenty of options of players who can make runs. DC's kind of caught out a little bit, and Dahome goes and makes an extremely clumsy play. So could I see the referee? Could I see other referees going out and being like, "Oh, I'm going to give a warning. That's really close, but like next one, like you're it." I could see that, and maybe that's what Dahome thought. But
Yep.
you also can't put yourself into that position where the referee is going to do that. And I don't.
Do you feel like on a second yellow that the threshold is higher as you're giving it? Do you look at a player that is on a yellow, or like when they commit that foul, does that enter your mind like, all right, well, that was a foul, and if he didn't have a yellow already, I'd probably give him a yellow, but I think that it does not warrant game changing necessarily here. It's not like that's, or does that never enter your mind? I'm always curious because in my mind it's always like second threat, it's like a higher threshold than it shouldn't be, but it is in my mind.
And again, the level I referee is very different. So they're different scenarios that go into.
Right. There's no media watching, for instance.
Yeah, well, I'm refereeing high school games, and sometimes level of play.
There's some media then.
Yeah, this level of play dictates clumsiness. Is it just the player being clumsy? And do you really want to show a second yellow on this? If it becomes persistent, then you can go from there. It's different. You think about it differently. I have gone with yellows, and I have seen I have seen situations where I've seen referees even at that level give yellows, and it's really we all strive for this idea that we want referees. We want consistency. I'm like, you're dealing with human beings. You're never going to have consistency. You're never going to have consistency in the way that you think that you want it. So honestly, in my sense, I don't get lost in those. I don't get lost in those arguments. I don't think it's a worthwhile argument to have. I think what a lot of people maybe look at and what they'll point out is, well, then you have that foul. You have I believe the Red Bulls player on the Pedro Santos goal, wonderful free kick from him.
Yep.
When you have that on the Pedro Santos goal, people are wondering, well, why is that not a yellow? The reason it's not a yellow is because I believe Ted is kind of all alone. There are several Red Bull defenders in front of him. He has next to no option other than just to dribble. He wins the foul. In my mind, that is not as does not meet the threshold of stopping a promising attack that the situation that Dahome found himself in. So,
but if you are a non-referee and are looking at just the stats and seeing that DC United had 3, 4, 6 yellow cards awarded, especially after the yellow card fest that was last week at home. The conspiratorial among us start to think, boy, the refs just hate us. The refs are out to get us.
Yeah, in my mind, I hate those. Yeah, I hate it. I just hate those excuses. I'm just like, no, you have a yellow, you need to be smarter. And there are plenty of players that get yellows and act smarter. And I think it's a casualty of the fact that Dahomey is a winger / forward. He can service and he can play left back, but this is not an ideal situation for him. And I feel kind of bad for him in a certain sense because I feel like he gets a lot of flack from people, gets a lot of flack from fans. And I'm like, yeah, but this is not really his natural position. He is not a natural, wing back. He is a very much a attacking player that can sort of shift into that role. And that role has basically become permanent because the coach said, nope, I don't want Yaz here, and we'll just deal with it until. And also we have Connor Antley too, and then Connor Antley goes down with the injury. That's really why he's been forced into it. But
yeah,
he won't be there against Cincy, and I think he also won't be there. I think he gets a double whammy. I think he picked up his 5th yellow, so he's suspended for Cincy, and then I think he's suspended for Orlando as well.
Wonderful,
because then
wonderful. Just excellent.
Just getting hit with those double whammies. Acaboni will be back at least, right? So that's good.
That's right. Did you, after Red Bull scores their second goal to equalize, did you assume, like probably most East End fans, that it was only a matter of time before goal number 3 was dropping?
Or
did you feel confident?
I don't know if I felt confident. Obviously, you're down a man. You've given up that third goal. I don't know. Red Bulls, I will say, did not play well in this game.
No,
they were sloppy in their finishing. They were missed tons of chances where they could have turned the ball, and I feel like there was always like one missed pass that went out of bounds.
Emil Forsberg must have been really not close to fit to only get 10 minutes at the end of this game.
Yeah, because if he had come out in the second half, I think we would have had a different different scenario.
I definitely was worried as soon as I saw him come on the field, though. That last 10 minutes was like, oh, just hold on.
Yeah, that was the one moment I was like, well, we might have something here. But I will tell you, like, I kind of looked at that and I said, oh, they got their goal. That was kind of expected. It was kind of a fluky deflection. I think some people will talk about hint of offside. I thought there was. The TV angle makes it look like that Corey Burke, I think, is running in an offside position.
And
if you watch, near the goalkeeper. If you watch the video, though, the line of sight is really what they've harped on. Is if there's a player offside blocking the line of sight, then that is infringing on his ability to see the ball. In this case, it was not for Miller. It was not Corey Burke was not blocking the line of sight. The player that was blocking the line of sight was directly in front of the goal. And I think it was Pedro Santos or somebody was standing right there, literally blocking his line of sight. I think if he's not there, Tyler Miller makes an easy save there and we maybe walk out of there with 3 points. So that was one of those things I looked at. And I think a lot of people maybe then got upset at that too. And hey,
that was less upsetting for me personally out of the two. Yeah. That the second yellow really was just like, are you kidding me again? Can we not for once? What I want to talk about. So that's the game. Basically, I want to talk about it. Sort of any other things that stick out. Tyler Miller gets his 3rd start in a row. Yeah, saves the game. Saves the draw late in the second half with a couple sort of ridiculous saves. Expected goals faced. Well, the stats aren't very good here. Expected goals on target faced 1.5. Goals prevented -0.44. Is a negative number on goals prevented a positive? Is that a good? Is it like golf scoring?
No, that's not. That means that you gave up. That means you gave up 2 goals, and so you let in. You only were expected to give up 1.5. It's not like a tragic. It's not a tragic number. Like
it's not a Rafael Romo hero of Copa America for DC United type of situation.
Oh man. Can we like well maybe we should have opened with that, but man,
probably should have.
Rafael Romo, Jose Ferrardo. For those who are not been paying attention to Copa America, you're much more healthier for it, let me tell you. Rafael Romo making a PK save, who, by the way, if you remember for DC, was awful.
Very, very bad.
Very, very bad. And then Jose Ferrardo, who was kind of Eric Davis was maybe the one guy who I wouldn't mind having back right now. But Jose Ferrardo.
As we are dumpster diving for left backs or trying to within our own team, yes.
Yeah, so, but but Jose Ferrardo scoring the game winning goal against the United States, so might be responsible for. Uh, I believe we can go ahead and say Rafael Roma was certainly responsible for knocking out Mexico, and now we can say that Jose Ferrardo might be responsible. Pending this result, you'll know tomorrow, knocking out the United States as well. So
The ghost of DC United past wreaking havoc in this tournament.
wild.
But I think
Go ahead.
I think Tyler Miller has played well. I think it will be. I'd be very interested to ask Troy sometime, like, just what's your thinking here exactly? You've got two goalkeepers that, to my mind, are playing very similarly. Like, they're not. Neither of them are game winning. Neither of them are really giving up really bad goals. They're both pretty much the same in distribution. What was your thought about making the switch and also sticking with this player? Are you seeing something that that you like more, or is it just a gut feeling? What's going on here? I'd love to know.
I think Tyler Miller showed me a little bit in this game why that salary was why
A little
he
bit higher.
maybe makes a little bit more. Just in like he seemed like he was, he made a couple of really nice saves. I think he made some fairly close to what you could call like game saving saves and
Yep.
point saving saves in this game. So he like earned a point. It's been tough to like really go bad on like Alex Bono because the team has been poor like all around. But you look at the like what he was sort of faced against, the defense he was faced with having, essentially Matty Petzola and really Lucas Bartlett is the only natural center back. And really, I mean, yes, again, they were poor. Like Red Bulls were poor, but maybe some of that is just the team sort of frustrating them, not allowing them to get, really as you're going to give them good looks. I mean, it's just the nature of the way this team is set up right now, but giving them, limited good looks and then also getting some good opportunities and some good saves. So
I
I
think
don't know. I think he's earned another start against Cincy. I think you
I
keep him
think
in.
two, it's probably that they're in a slide and there's no other lever that Troy could pull
Mhm.
because they have no players. So there's one thing you could do. You could switch the goalkeepers and see if that sparks the team. It really hasn't, but it was certainly worth a try. Other than
Yeah.
this draw, that's the first half spark. I don't why not?
Yeah, they're intangible things too that like a goalkeeper can do, that can kind of make things better. And organization, organizing the defense. So maybe we see some of that push its way forward. So
Let's get into these questions, these
yeah,
DC United
sure.
questions. What do you got?
PJ Cad says, "As July 18th nears, at this point, who do you keep? Who do you let go?" There's a lot. I don't know. It seems like maybe the max exodus. I don't think we're going to have a major piece leave. I don't think we're going to have any other the Yaz, from what I'm hearing from Tom Bogart, as he's sort of had some videos out there. If you go check his content, he's basically saying the team is basically they're really just pushing for winner. They're going to have a lot of contracts that are going to expire. Rodriguez will expire. Dahome will expire. That opens up a lot of cap space. So they really don't want to try to commit themselves too heavily. You go out and you replace a left back with somebody you think is better. David Schnegg might be the only sort of major addition to this team. That's just the honest truth right now. This team, I don't. If you could get rid of some guys, like I mean, even like Dahome, Rodriguez, and you could bring some guys in to replace them, sure. But why not just take your time, not try to spend your efforts to try to rush them out the door unless it gets handed into your lap, and instead just be patient. Nothing. They're not going to win anything this year. Like no one is, you know. So,
I think
any
that's
other you want to get in there, or did I steal
no.
that
I
thunder?
think that's probably true. There's not really anything they could do. I was just looking at this roster just as a quick. Somebody also asked on Twitter, like, "Are we going to get rid of Dahome?" And I was like, "I think you can only pull the salary dump on Dahome once, and we already got caught holding that bag from Vancouver. I don't think I'm trying to think what the benefit for any other team taking him on would be, and I don't. It would cost us too much in GAM to cover his contract because he's not worth what he's on. So you're kind of stuck with him, at least in the league. Yeah, there's just not really anything they do. We understand that there's not any salary cap room, And because of that, if you look at this roster, there's also not a lot of desirable pieces to move. We're stuck. This is what it is.
I think this team will make. I think so. We know we have Schneck coming in. He basically swapped like and like for Yaz's contract and salary, if I understand it.
And Baji is also coming.
Yeah, Baji's also coming. He'll probably be on, fairly low salary. He has a green card, or at least I think he might even be a citizen at this point. So I think he will not count as an international slot. We've talked about they're bringing in 2 players. They would have 1 free international slot with the fact that Pirani has a green card, or will be getting a green card soon. So that's 1 international, and that is you have open U22 slots that you can, maybe if you have that room inside your salary cap, you can finagle that through. Like 150,000 is what that costs against the cap. So there's your way to potentially get better. But I don't think they will move on that unless they're sure. They don't want 1 Pirani. You can kind of ignore. I don't think you want 2 Piranis.
No, I don't. I certainly don't want 2 Piranis.
So maybe we'll go get Griffin Yao. Maybe we'll bring him back.
Oh boy, that would rule. That'd be great. One thing we didn't talk about this game before we get to the rest of questions. Congrats to Jeremy Garay making his first appearance. 1 minute, almost committed a foul that resulted him in. I don't know if it was him or Click who actually called the foul, but they came together and both made a good attempt to foul the Red Bull player and allow a free kick right outside the 18. But congrats to him for making his first appearance for DC United, and did it as a forward, which is not what he would have expected, I think, probably. It looks like, based on the press releases that came out from the players from the USL team, it looks like they're both here. Looks like Garay and Sargis are going to be here for the rest of the year, which is what I think is right.
I thought I still saw where they still had the option to return.
They did, but they basically said, like, it was a retrospective. It was like, thank you for all your contributions to the team. And if you go back and read it, who knows? It's probably a 20-year-old intern writing the copy for the Las Vegas Lights social media. But if there's nuance and it's intentional, then I think he's staying.
Yeah, So
why would you not? Why would you not? Like,
yeah. At this point. The season is not over yet. There was still some minutes, but also, they weren't, from what I've gathered, again, I haven't really been
not playing.
They weren't playing. So what's the point? You go there to get minutes and you're not even able to get minutes down there. So, I agree with you. I think they'll be here. Particularly, I think Sargis most definitely, because I think we'll see. We haven't heard much about
nothing.
Birnbaum. I think there was some rumblings from maybe a fan visit that maybe he's targeting Leagues Cup to come back. I don't know.
Great. So I would love to have him back for Leagues Cup. That would be great, because that's a minute you're not giving to, Lucas Bartlett. Bartlett probably needs a blow at this point.
Yeah. Calvin says, who's going to play on July 20th versus Celtic? I don't know. Academy guys.
Nathan Crockford.
Yeah, Nathan Crockford maybe.
Jeremy Garay.
Yeah, Jeremy Garay will definitely get an appearance. Aiden Sargis will definitely get an appearance.
Christian Fletcher will start at the 9.
I believe the All-Star game isn't the All-Star. But we should also congratulate him. Let's get into the video. Shashton's still part of the club. I swear that was him in the All-Star vid today at the 42-second mark. Also, yes. Did you notice any of the Academy players in the background, the video? That is Chad Ashton. I haven't heard I'm not sure what his role is. I think he's
on
advisor. Yeah. I think it's the Dave Casper. Hey, we're going to keep you around. You've been a loyal servant. Your contract runs out at X amount of time. Once that happens, maybe we'll reassess. If you find something else, we won't stop you. But so
please find something else.
Yeah.
That's what they say. Go do something else, man. Have fun. You're just like the ghost that haunts Leesburg at this moment.
And that's fine. I think we've grown past the point where I don't think we need to really.
Except for Dave Casper, I do want him out.
But he's effectively out. You're not seeing
out. OUT out. I don't see Audi driving around anymore. Maybe you don't have a problem, but when I look at the salary cap, I still get mad.
But that ultimately cost him his decision making. Like it costed him. But so it's out, salary. And now I'm all moving on. I'm all like, let's just move on. We got a new thing. Mentioned the All-Star Day. Congratulations to Christian Mateka and Aaron Herrera for making the All-Star team. I think that is Christian Benteke is probably certainly warranted from how he's played this year. I think even despite what happened, certainly warranted to be an all-star. Aaron Herrera is surprising.
It's a connoisseur's choice.
Yeah, it's like I feel like we talk about, we talk about the All-Star game, and like the running joke is always like Seattle players always get in regardless of how they're doing. Like, you would always have Jordan Morrison there. You would always have, the teams with a big fan bases sort of, stuff the ballot box. And I'm not saying DC can't have a big fan base, but I think it is interesting to me. I feel like maybe there's maybe a shift happening where now it is actually the like best players or the players who deserve it are the ones getting it and getting in. And it's not just your, Lionel Messi's, your Jordi Alba's, and despite the fact they've been actually really good, but like Jordi Alba plays right back, doesn't he?
Left back.
Okay. Never mind. I have to look at who actually made it as far as on the roster, and maybe also MLS is changing their voting structures to allow more players in. I don't know. It's just, it's good to see him in there. DC's not a team right now that is making many headlines, but it's interesting to see. It seems like maybe the voting people are now actually watching, and maybe they pay attention a little bit. And
I think Troy said first time DC United's had 2 All-Stars since 2012, I think, what I said, which I would believe.
Wonder who it was in 20, maybe Charlie Davies and Dwayne DeRosario.
That would my guess, but I'm sure Brendan Cartwright will correct us on tomorrow morning.
he will correct us on,
which is what we assume, and we like that.
Yeah, and then next question, offsides, is David Schneck arriving after Leagues Cup? He will actually be here right before the window opens July 18th. I think DC's first game is July 19th. I would not expect him to play for maybe a spot sub in. I would not expect him to get a long run out in Leagues Cup, but he will be here. He will be here. Next question for Twitter says Brendan Cartwright says, call it out. How many goal contributions are you predicting for Baji? He says 4. I'm going to go and say over under 4.
Under.
I'm going over.
All right.
I think he will come in. I think we shall revisit when he comes in. So goal contribution would be assist or goals, right? So sister goals. I think he comes in, and I think he's a solid piece. So I'm going to go over. Robin says, any other potential signing rumors out there, or just dumping expensive contracts? Cough, cough. Dahome. She also asked about my opinions on the referees. I'm sure you did not. I'm sure no DC fan liked my opinion on the referee calls. I'm sure no one did that. It's to particular fans in general. But anyway, I don't think we've really seen much. I usually search like DC United on Twitter. Twitter is now a cesspool.
I recommend going to rfkrefugees.com or to our Patreon and looking at our first article from our new writer, who will be talking about sort of what are the benefits, what are those targets. People always ask us, who do we think it's going to be, who do we think DC United is going to sign, what Central European League have you been watching recently that can give us a tip. But Calvin Byrne will be writing for us on occasion, and he had an opportunity to sit down and look at some of those names, so check that out.
Yeah. And again, I promise you guys, I'm going to get back on my horse eventually. I don't know if it'll be this Wednesday. If you know somewhere in Kicker's jersey, the Henny Derby. And John, I got to say, I'm upset you're not wearing your Forward Madison kit, because we could have had some really nice banter there going on, like the old days.
I was too lazy to troll. I was eating dinner. I had to get down here.
Henny Derby this week, so I will be. It's at 8, so maybe I can watch like the first 30 minutes of DC. I might get some articles together. And the next question is Spirit related, so we'll hold on that for a little bit until we get to the Spirit segment. One thing I wanted to say, I will say, with the signing of or with this game, and one thing I'll kind of close out is I am relieved to see the team respond and not melt down.
Yeah.
After the red card, which is something that could have easily happened again. And that it's quelled my fears. And my biggest fear was I saw the way this team just kind of melted down against Houston. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, here we go again. Or like the red card, it's like, here we go again. They responded well. We didn't really even talk about the excellent free kick from Pedro Santos, but just sublimely hit. I don't know if he'll be able to do that again. But that's maybe a little bit of luck that maybe started to swing DC's way. This is, I think, maybe the first time they've scored more goals than their like XG than they generated on the XG chart. So maybe some luck is starting to sort of swing this team's way a little bit. But good response. I think it shows that, Troy Lesesne can sort of get the wheels, the wheels look like they're falling off and you can kind of get the wheels back on. One thing I always said about Ben Olsen teams was like every time you, like even in 2019, you thought the wheels might fall off and this team would like fall out of the playoff picture. They would be, sliding down that playoff chart. They would sort of, this season would be a bust. And then you have a game against Seattle where they come out and they win 2-0 and they look really good. So his ability to sort of keep the wheels on, they did fall off eventually in 2020 for sure. But sort of keep the wheels on, keep things moving, short memories, get everybody focused and aligned for the next game. It looks like maybe Troy Lesesne has that ability and has that gift. And that is by and large, I think a very, very important, an important aspect of a coach that I think maybe gets overlooked is that ability to kind of keep things moving. So, okay. Let's switch gears. Let's talk Washington Spirit, who played right at the same time as DC.
We hate that.
We hate that.
minus 5 points.
Next week they'll be playing at 10, so we have different times even if it is late. So, yep. But let's talk about it. 1-0 loss. Ashley Sanchez picking up a fluky / mistake-ridden goal.
Yeah,
a rare mistake from Kingsbury there. This game, like the only way I could describe this is just like, and I don't think it's anything like right now, at least it's nothing, nothing worrisome, I guess is the right word. I still think this is a team that is still playing exceptionally well. And they still did some things in this game that were good. It was just like that extra oomph from one player just wasn't there. Everybody was just kind of average. And I think it kind of showed.
I think North Carolina always gives the Spirit a hard time. That's a historic reality. The other thing that is most important here, and people should not forget it, is that Andy Sullivan did not play again. Andy Sullivan is to the Washington Spirit what Bill Hamid used to be to DC United, in that if she's not in the lineup, you have a pretty good feeling about how the results are going to go. Or Andy Nahar back in his day. This team very clearly needs another defensive midfielder in the summer window. Paige Mateer is not. It's not working out. Hal Hirschfeld is much better when she has Andy next to her. It's a situation where Andy is very, very durable. However, you want to have some options in the event that she gets injured, or it looks like national team call-ups seem to not maybe be a thing that's going to go on anymore. But this team really does need to think about ways that they can be stronger in that way. Paige had better stats than she did typically. When she fills in, actually Hal had the worst game and picked up a yellow. But this was just one of those games where I think you had North Carolina playing up the middle, changing their formation or changing their style of play. The Spirit are much more used to playing the game out on the wings. And that was not the game that presented. So I think Saar had a rough game. Croy had a rough game. And then there was also, some substitutes some players got opportunities that hadn't gotten a chance to before. McKenna Morris gets, I think, maybe her second appearance. I'm not sure. Hasn't played much due to injury. I think it might be her first appearance. Let me just check real quick. That was her first appearance. Second match, 52 minutes played. And then there was an Heather Stainbrook gets another opportunity. Hatch and Ratcliffe come in to maybe try to make a late offensive situation, make a late something happen on the offensive side. But just were not getting in positions of danger. They had a lot of shots on goal, nothing in a real dangerous spot for the Courage. Courage just sort of, they managed what the Spirit does sometimes well on defense. They'll allow opportunities in non-dangerous places instead of allowing people to get really where they need to be. McKenna Morris comes in and plays on the same side as Trinity, which caused some problems, had sort of lack of familiarity, and didn't allow Robin to be as effective as she normally is. And then Ule Saar, I talked about her a couple weeks ago about all of her goals sort of coming in one big bunch during the season, and it's gone a little bit cold. This was, I think you said it before the game started, this was sort of a vintage in a bad way Saar performance where she is not effective and doesn't look very confident. And the stats bear that out as well.
I think there were some she didn't get a lot of opportunities sort of inside the box. I think she had a couple shots and she sort of takes them from outside the box. And I remember that being kind of a frustration with her in 2023 is I felt like she's a forward, but she's not finding the right positions inside the box to have sort of those easy chances. And I feel like this year that's been where she's been better is I guarantee I don't know, I don't have an ability to look at the stat. I guarantee you look at like her average shot range from 2023 and 2024. I bet it's significantly closer. And the fact that she's gotten into those positions inside the box, creating those sort of high probability chances, you're going to score more goals than if you're trying to like shoot it from outside the box or you're trying to play it out of there. Um,
I would
so
look into giving Ashley Hatch an opportunity to start next week at the 9. She has not, Sar has not scored since May 24th against the Reign. That's a bit of a time. That's four matches without a goal or an assist. So I think particularly as you roll into new coach, opportunities to get. We have one more league game, but then we have this cup
mhm.
situation. I think you look at seeing if you can get Hatch started and see if she could maybe do what you need out of the 9.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be an opportunity to take a look. I also think, maybe the team does have SB Morgan coming in. You talk about uh Andy Sullivan's defensive abilities. I think also her ability sort of as being that distributor and moving the ball forward and finding the right spots and opportunities. Maybe you bring in an SB Morgan and she can also give you that sort of progressive pass ability. That's really what she's known for. Her defensive ability is kind of average, but her passing and her progressive passes and her pass completion has been excellent. So maybe
They
that's
just
what
need
you look
another
for.
stopper in the midfield is what they need. They need another. Trying to think back, the Jordan Baggett over there are players that had that role that would either get injured or whatever the situation was, and Hal has been that, but they definitely need another player of a similar Andy profile that you can afford. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's going to be in this half window. They still have it remains to be seen. There's lots of rumors that continue to swirl, particularly as you have Jonah Heraldez come in. He's going to be. We're in the weird situation where we both have a very famous owner, but we also have the most famous and acclaimed club coach to come here. So there are going to be players that are going to want to come here that would not have wanted to come here before. So we'll watch this space. You still
Yeah.
have Lacey Santos to come, and we'll figure out where she's going to fit it on the field too. So good luck. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
We're getting stronger up front, and we still need some help. And we get stronger at center back. I think we still need to one up the gut in the midfield. I think we're probably set.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this team, and another thing I want to say is I think also in this game, Corey Bethune had maybe a mortal performance. Is the good way to show it. She was just not really finding the space. I actually wanted to look and see like what her like shot creating stats were because I can't really. There wasn't a moment where you saw her make a pass or make a movement that really. I would say in the first half, the Spirit generated a bunch of chances. There was one off the post. I think that was a shot from Casey Kruger. I want to say. I think she like ripped a shot off the post if I recall correctly. Might be wrong about that. It was definitely up that left side. So. And Trinity was definitely attacking the right. So yeah, but it they had options, they had opportunities. It just wasn't. They weren't sharp. They didn't. I mean, they get. I think the pinnacle moment came in the first half when they won the ball off the press. Sort of that press forced North Carolina into a mistake. And Sarr just could not direct it on target. And I think she maybe could have taken an extra touch. I think she kind of rushed the shot. And I think if she had taken that extra touch, she would have had maybe a better opportunity. But it was just kind of a rough performance. I think it was a little bit of a down performance. Um,
Still
we
staying at
have
third in the table. As far as looking at what the overall impact of it is, not very much. First place continues to be a joint enterprise between the Current and the Pride, both on 35 points now, and the Courage now in sixth with 22 points. Still very top heavy, and at the bottom of this league is very, very out of it already.
yeah.
Utah Royals with a new coach, by the way. Amy Rodriguez fired.
Yeah, and Bay FC as well, who are our next opponent, letting go of their GM, and wow, this name escapes me, and
Lucy
it's
Rushton.
Lucy Rushton. Thank you, former DC. Yeah, just some wild. And I think there was someone else lost their job as well, or maybe it was the Amy. I think
Oh yes. San Diego Wave fired their coach. Uh, I believe while she was at the rumor is while she was in England for a funeral. Is the rumor
Oof.
that when she got fired? So not great there. Yeah.
Oof. Oof. Yeah, it's some wild times, and I mean, it really shows, I think, a lot about how like quickly this league has moved. I think the Amy Rodriguez firing, I think a lot of people are saying the same thing. It's like you didn't give them much.
No,
What were expectations this year?
you had no goal scorers out there. You drafted one, and that's pretty much all you. That's all you got. So whatever. I mean, it's not my team to worry about, but I certainly think it was probably a little bit premature. They gave a rookie head coach no assets, and they were like, "Hey, why do you have so few points? This doesn't
Yeah,
seem right."
yeah. So it's interesting how quickly and particularly with the firing of the wave coach after you win the Supporters Shield,
Hmm.
and maybe having a little bit of a down year. I think some people are maybe pointing out, like, they certainly got a lot of talent.
They
Why
did.
is it not coming together as well as it should? So yeah, it's tough times out there. Certainly not on the DC space. Everything is still golden even after this
Yeah.
result.
I was very curious to see if maybe one of these teams looked at Adrian Gonzalez, tried to prize him away, uh, but hopefully not. but
Yeah.
that was Casey Stoney who was let go. So that's something. I think she'll probably find another job pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Bay FC coming off their first 2-game win streak of the year, which with goals with 1-0 wins against Racing Louisville and Angel City FC. So that's the pretty not super impressive opponent wins, but decent teams, not any slouches. Not they're not going to light the world on fire with goals scored. I think their max all season is 2. And they've not exceeded 3. I'm sorry, against the Rain, who everybody beats up except for us that first game. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. If their offense can turn back on after a somewhat dormant performance against the Courage, hopefully there's no lessons learned there. There's no secrets of the universe that the Courage have unlocked that teams can replicate. But that's on the 6th, and then we have a bit of a break.
Yep. Bit of a break. And let's get to our question. Riss Willett says,
Hey, Riss.
with the Spirit breaking their winning streak against NCC, how do you think they regroup and make playing, I think is what you meant to say, Bay FC? I just think the important thing is, and I think we've seen this time and time again, the team has had down games. We've seen them have down games. I think to your point, Andy Sullivan, if she's healthy, I think times are good, and I think we'll see the team look like their normal selves. If she's still hurt or injured, then maybe we've got a little bit less of a game. The important thing is, I think, it's just don't panic, just play your game. Focus on the things you do well. It sounds cliche, and because it is, but I mean, I don't know if there's any sort of like changes you want to make. Like right now, the team is playing well above themselves, well above what we thought. I don't think you really make any sort of sudden moves. You had a rough game. You like a draw, I think, would have been fair in this game, considering the chances and the opportunities. Like, I think the XG didn't really pan out, but I think a draw would have been a fair result in this game. So you didn't play so poorly that you were played off the field. So I think you keep it going. You look to get Corey Bethune more involved. I think she had a quiet game. So I think hopefully if she gets more involved, I think things are fine. So
I think 2-1 or 3-1 victory for the Spirit on the road.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I'm gonna be conservative. I'm gonna say maybe they close it out, and also I feel like I predict draws and teams come out and play better. So we predicted a loss, they come out and play better.
We're really good at predicting outcomes is what we should learn from that. One way or another, we're inaccurate in one way or another.
Yep. We're also a lot of things are inaccurate. So why do you even watch us?
I don't know.
All right, folks. I think that'll do it. Thank you, guys.
In time.
Just in time. Yeah, the national anthems are going off for USA Uruguay, so go check that out if you really want to.
If you're a time traveler,
we did not talk about the Copa America. Maybe we'll do a little postmortem.
We'll have certainly stuff to talk about next week.
Yeah, certainly there. All right, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Vamos.